Hey, Natalie again. I promised to take some people down Alice's rabbit hole, and this is the video to do so. So fasten your seatbelts and get ready for a freaking amazing journey to piecing your life together. This has to do with reincarnation, so do yourself a favor if you are not open-minded and shut this video off. This is not for you. So, let's start at the very, very beginning. And as I go through this journey, I'm going to do it kind of like a story format. And I want you to start taking notes to see if you can piece things together faster than I can. And I also want you to start thinking about your own lives, because that's what this is about. It's about empowering you to take control and to take accountability for what's going on in your life based on the past karma in your life, okay? So, we're going to set the scene. I was married to a polygamist. Yes. I was very suppressed. I was very in a very sexually controlled situation. I was very modest. I wore the whole polygamy thing going on. Yeah, ain't so cute. Anyways, how this started was my husband and my sister wife were out, and it was like 9 o'clock at night, and I was cleaning the blinds because at the time Natalie felt like she had to have value by cleaning everything. My OCD was through the roof, so I had taken down all the blinds and I'm cleaning them. It's again 9 o'clock at night. The kids are upstairs screaming. Or sorry, not screaming, watching a movie. And I am walking through the kitchen and the windows are open because it's like May, June. It's like June, I think. No, it's like May, July or May. May or June, July, August, how do you even do that? Anyways, it was hot, so the windows were open and I hear my little girl, well, she's my sister wife's little girl, but she was always my little girl. She was always, I just always felt like before I even married him, I felt like she was mine. I take credit for her. No, I'm just kidding. She's beautiful though. Anyways, she starts screaming for me, Aunt Natalie, and I can hear these little footsteps running outside. And I'm like, what the freak? The boys would always lock her out when her parents would leave. And I went and I ran to the door to let her in, and I opened it up. And it's black outside. And we had the yard done. The community did the yard for us. And so we had these beautiful lights in the backyard. And they were gone. They were off, and I had this weird feeling. But then this voice came, and it wasn't like that soft, still voice. It was a command, and he said, "Natalie, shut that door. That is not Sabrina screaming for you." And I'm like, kind of like, whoa, because I lived in Colorado City. We didn't even lock our doors. I wasn't scared. And all of a sudden, my hand lifted up. Somebody lifted it, and they slammed the door, and I was like, whoa, and I am shoved as far back into the washroom as I can go, and it like jerked the washer behind me because I hit the washer so hard. And I remember just like sitting there like, holy crap, what was that? But I'm still kind of like, because I know I heard Sabrina screaming for me, and it wasn't just like a screaming, it sounded like she was being chased by a pack of wolves. So I walk upstairs to go look for the boys, because now I'm pissed. I'm like, boys, did you lock Sabrina out? And when I get up there, Sabrina's upstairs. And so at this point, I'm getting a little creeped out. So we called the neighbors. Nobody had heard about Sabrina and or was missing anybody. And Sabrina was upstairs. So we said a prayer and we go to bed. My husband comes home. I tell him, and he thinks it's the horse. Yeah, makes me feel super safe. Well, the next day, I go to work, and I sit down at my desk. I'm the very first one to work, and I get a phone call. And I pick it up, and he's like, "Hey, baby." And I'm like, "Hey, who's this?" And he's like, "Steve." And I'm like, "Hey, Steve." And he's like, "I came to say goodbye to you last night, but I guess you didn't see me." And I'm like, "What?" And he just starts laughing and hangs up the phone. And I'm like, what the freak? Right then, my boss walked in. And it was Susie, and I told her what had happened. And I was like, do you know Steve? And she's like, Natalie? And then she says, last night I was watching America's Most Wanted. And there's a serial killer who's going around luring women out of their homes by the screams of their children. He stalks them, records them, amplifies the sound, and basically pulls them out of the house. And then he does the nasty and chops them up. Awesome, right? So now I'm freaking scared. And I am terrified. And the next 2 weeks were the scariest time of my life. And it was that later that day. But, you know, my husband didn't believe me. Nobody believed me other than Susie. And I remember being at work later that night, and I was on the phone with a client, and it was around 6 o'clock, and I was by myself. And somebody comes up to the office door, and they start twisting the doorknob back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They didn't enter. They were trying to scare me. They were trying to taunt me. And my gut feeling was to call Charlie. He was another guy that worked there, and I called him, and Charlie was really sweet and came over and got me and took me home. And when I got home, I had this very, very strong feeling to run straight to my room. So I went straight to my room, and then the voice again said, hide. And so I jumped behind my door, and I don't know who came in my house, but someone came into my house, and I could hear their footprints or steps walking up the stairs, and then they came, and I could hear them breathing outside my door. And it was like they weren't allowed to enter. It was almost like I was being protected. And then I heard them walk back down the stairs, and then they shut the door and walked out. So, this was the beginning of my journey. It was the scariest 2 weeks of my freaking life. So, if you're interested in hearing more about how the story goes and how I got out of polygamy, how I moved on, how I figured out who I was, how I healed it, you are welcome to subscribe, and we will take you on the next steps of this journey next time. Ta-ta!